keep creeping in from the left-hand edge of the painting. So what I'm going to do now is spend another 10 minutes or so working on the animal, and I've switched to my little filbert brush here, little flat brush with a rounded end, and I'm just grabbing some freshly applied to the palette tinting white. So just going to add some brighter highlights to the animal. And I'm, making sure that some of those highlights cut across between what is currently the rather hard boundaries that I've got between shadow and highlighted areas. Now I want to preserve some of the frayed kind of yellow ochre colour that I've got. So although I'm putting a highlight along the top of the rear end here, I'm deliberately keeping that darker outline. Because what I tend to do is, if I find I've got a nice effect which has occurred quite naturally, through a frayed brush, or with watercolor bleeding into a certain area, or whatever it is really, if I can, I'll preserve that even if it doesn't completely match reality. Now I've got to use this pure white fairly sparingly, because otherwise it doesn't, we tend to deviate from reality a little too much. But I can just kind of work my way around the animal and, as mentioned, put in a few bright highlights here and there. And then I'll probably come back to using that filbert in a moment. But for now, I'm just going to come back to this big flat brush, which is what I started out using, if you remember, for blocking in the animal. Just adding a little bit of water to my palette, and I'm just picking up a little bit of that tinting white again. Still got a little bit of the ochre left on the brush. I did just wash it out, but not overly thoroughly. I just want to soften some of the white I've put down and tease out some of those rather hard-edged highlight areas that I've put in. And again, we won't see the full effect of all of that until it's dried back. So for now, what I'm going to do is now do an extra little bit of drawing, but with the brush. So coming in with a round brush now, picking up pure ultramarine blue, and I'm going to add a few more descriptive lines to this animal, in part to hide some of the original line work that I've got there with the Unipin marker. I don't mind it showing too much, but I feel it's a little too obvious in places. Now the reason I'm choosing the blue is I feel it really sort of complements the colour that I've used. it's going to tend to bring out the orange in the colour that I've used so far for most of the animal. And the thing with using the brushes, in general, in terms of the way I apply the paint at least, you don't get all that consistent a line, which is kind of good, because you want the lines to be a little bit characterful rather than just a sort of a solid equal thickness line all the way around the outline of the animal. Okay, well, having done that, I'm now going to take that same blue and add a little bit of the cad red in there. So we get a purple. We'll get a little bit of white in there as well. Mix in a little more white again.